What's going on, everybody? Welcome to your weekend astrology horoscope for the weekend of June 4th, June 3rd, and the 4th of 2023. Astrologer Brian Scarborough here, fixed air moon, keeping the collective fixed on astrology. Full moon in Sagittarius. It's coming this evening on the 4th here, with that full moon in Sag. So, big energy. It's always heightened emotions with a full moon. Hopefully, it doesn't bring out too much crazy energy. Has a little bit of chaotic vibes to it, not gonna lie. Let's take a look at this full moon chart for this Saturday, June 3rd. It's going to be at 13 degrees of Sagittarius, Sun, of course, 13 degrees of Gemini. So we have this big push and pull between our emotions, the Sun, our energetic light, our self expression. The curiosity of life is Gemini, the knowing of life is Sagittarius. So, in essence, we're releasing some of the things we thought we knew. Even like looking at the dispositor of this full moon in Sag, Jupiter with the North Node, right? That's a big conjunction just to have evolutionary wise. There's a lot of rebirthing of either beliefs or journeys, paths, knowing. So when you get a full moon, right, it's the release. It's definitely peaked emotion. It's full emotion. So we can also be a little dogmatic, thinking that maybe we know exactly what certain areas of our life are, exactly where the journey's going to go, that there's only one way to get there. And I would say this is a full moon to remember that there's always multiple ways to get to the same destination. And sometimes even when you're going to a destination, the goalpost can move or the destination can change. So it's a very important, I think, lunation and big full moon to remember that it's okay to adapt. It's okay if the journey changes. It's okay if a belief about a situation changes, a philosophy about a situation changes. The full moon in Sag is like a reminder every year that like philosophies, beliefs, they always evolve, they always change, they always grow. Maybe not every year, but little parts of maybe a philosophy, whether we're growing and adding on to something, expanding it with Sagittarius, and an adaptation has to be made or a different path has to be taken. That's all important things to remember as we're in Gemini season. And it is just the sun in Gemini, right? It's kind of a lonely Gemini season until Mercury gets in there. And Mercury is with Uranus. It's with Uranus this weekend, which is Mercury's dispositing the sun in Gemini. So it is a very mentally stimulating full moon. So not only is it emotionally stimulating, but I mean, minds are just firing. Like the synopsis between everything that's going on in our lives is a lot. I mean, honestly, like this is probably not a weekend where you're probably going to get a ton of sleep or a ton of rest because we'll probably be thinking a lot. We'll probably be trying to analyze or work out the kinks or fix something because of belief change, because of a journey pivot, because of something changing. We're having to release the ideal or the expectation of different outcomes. But within that, it's also where we're reinventing mentally both our right brain, our left brain, you know, our physical senses as well as our intuitive senses to something for the future here. So there's definitely like different ideas that can come up. Things can change. I think that this is like a beautiful full moon to kind of go back to remembering that we're just trying to figure this place out. We don't have to have every little detail figured out. We don't have to know everything. I think that with a full moon in Sagittarius, just in general, the more you know, the more emotionally tied to certain aspects you can get, which can be very difficult to learn. If you're just so right, that's what they say, right? If your cup's already full, then it's overflowing and you can't take anything in. So in essence, we have to pour some of the cup out and like get back to like a learning sense, an adaptation sense, taking in new information from our environments. So some beliefs are outdated. They're changing. They've just as a collective, we've evolved from them. As personal, just in our own personal lives, we've emotionally evolved from certain things that we've maybe thought were the thing, the knowing, the way, the belief, the big philosophy, and we're kind of like reinventing them to what this sense of value is within ourselves. So it's very good full moon to remember to stay curious, to stay open, to express, forcing, whether it's emotion onto somebody or a belief or a philosophy or opinion as if it's the only way is probably going to cause some struggle in our life. We got Venus here at 28 degrees and it's going to be coming to 29, and we're really starting to see Venus oppose this Pluto. So I mean, there are definitely some battles that can be going on, I think, with maybe expectations or ideals or beliefs or an intuitive knowing about maybe what other people need or what other people want to feel comfortable. Even ways that we express how we want things or need things or want, to feel good in life. Like there's definitely a transformational element to this. And even the moon is making a semi-square to Pluto, right? Pluto's square the nodes. I mean, this is an extremely interesting full moon because it's so Uranian with the dispositor of the sun, Mercury, being with Uranus, and it's so Plutonian because Pluto square the node, south node in Scorpio, Venus opposite Pluto, and even the sun in a Ceci quadrant to that Pluto. So it's just like the transformation's huge right now, and it's all trying to understand as Pluto's still retrograde in Aquarius, this is the first time we felt this energy in our lives. Like, don't forget that. We're still trying to, like, on a deeply emotional level, understand our futures. And I think the only way to do that is to remember that we don't know everything. We got to make some room for new information. We got to make room to be open, to be curious, to have like a thirst for knowledge again, to have a thirst for how we can grow and expand. Because if not, we're just kind of being preachy to ourselves, to others, maybe demanding of another person and their way because we want it to match our way. So we're starting to see like where different levels of what we find to be comfortable and work in our own lives, it's almost as if we can see that it's really starting to rub other people the wrong way because it's not their version of value or comfort. And I think this is where as a collective we got to really like understand this dynamic between ourselves and others. What one person finds to be comfortable, of value, of a belief, of a philosophy is not someone else's way by default. There is no right way to be a human. There is no right way to go about any procedure day by day. There's just certain things that work for certain people. And ideally, if we're going about life trying to be good, right? Trying to do, good to ourselves, good to others, then we want to be very understanding that we have to have that compassion. Now look, Venus is still in that trine over to Neptune. So I think ideally, like we can really use compassion to get through whatever maybe differences of beliefs or look, and even if this isn't dealing with a relationship or another person in our lives or others, just within ourselves to have compassion and self-love and to nurture ourselves and to take care of ourselves and be adaptable. We're so lucky to be humans because we are like the most adaptable, like in essence, the universe put us here to like show us how adaptable and mutable and changeable we are because you can pretty much throw a human anywhere and it will figure it out, It's actually really, when I just even say that, like it resonates very true to me, maybe not to you, but that's such a beautiful thing. So we all have that ability, even if we don't like to, because sometimes it's not comfortable to get into a situation where we have to adapt. But I feel like this is a full moon that's saying a healthy curiosity and willingness to change something, to grow, to learn, and to not be so in the know about all things, or even just one particular thing, can be extremely helpful. And, there's this rebellious nature to this full moon too with Uranus and Mercury. Like I think people mentally are feeling very rebellious, maybe want to liberate themselves. And again, coming back to like understanding their quality of life and what that is to them. these are beautiful things because I think this is where we're growing so much as a collective, as individually. We are really starting to see what we value, what we like, what is quality. That is so important because Pluto's going to teach us all in Aquarius that we all have to understand our individuated self and the uniqueness that each and every one of us is so that we can relate at a higher level and understand people and realize we're all here to grow and to evolve and to win. Forcing any kind of knowing or belief onto another is just going to cause strife for this full moon. Nobody's going to want to take that. That's the thing about this full moon. Nobody's going to want to listen. Like, you love someone, they're doing something stupid to you, and you hit them with all the reasons why that's the wrong thing that they should be doing in their life. Do you think that they're going to be receptive during this full moon? Like, think about if someone comes at you that way, tells you all the things you're doing wrong because you're not doing it the way they do it. Nobody wants to hear that, even not on a full moon. It's very rare that you find someone that wants to just hear that they're doing everything wrong and they need to do it like someone else. This is a really good full moon reminder for that type of energetic exchange, especially with people. I feel like it's a very people-oriented full moon as well. But on the bigger side too, it's just like our own philosophy too. It's has to make room for these, what, call them downloads, call them experience, whatever it is. Like, we're all learning more and more on this journey, and this is a good time to be open to add to a philosophy, to be adaptable, because our intuition is very heightened. Sagittarius is such an intuitive sign, right? It's Jupiter. Like, this is very tapped into, whether it's imagination, intuition, spirituality, all of that. It's the right brain, right? So it's more abstract. It's good to be abstract, but we also sometimes have to remember to pay attention to every little thing that happens, even if it maybe doesn't have some big meaning. The little things can make the perfect little adjustments to switch a bigger picture or to switch a bigger outlook on life, right? So pay attention to the little things, and please, like, with Venus opposite Pluto, with these, hard aspects with the semi-square and the sessi-quadrant to Pluto, Pluto square the nodes, we don't want to control people. That's like the big thing here. We want to find self-control, individual control, individual growth, individual innovation. This way we can all come together and innovate from where I believe the next 20 years are trying to take us. But we don't do that by forcing. This is also, Sagittarius deals heavily with freedom. So does Aquarius. So Pluto's still there in Aquarius, full moon in Sagittarius. With Uranus too, like I said, very liberating. Nobody wants to be controlled, and even Jupiter with the North Node. You don't want to be controlled, neither does someone else. So we have to remember that too, just energetically. We can hope and idolize that somebody's going to do the right thing because we love and we care for people, right? But forcing something's just going to be... People are going to feel... They'll feel controlled. They'll feel like people are being too power hungry. So, I feel like that's the biggest warning for this is... There's very heightened belief and sense of knowing, and the way to grow from this is to say for a second, like, I don't know everything. Even if it's a subject we think we're an absolute professional, or we do know it all. We can always grow and know more. Nobody knows everything about everything, or about even one particular thing, because things grow and change and adapt, and new information always presents itself. And that is the beauty of life right now, and with this full moon, is that there's always new information trying to help us grow and expand our wisdom, our knowing, our just expanse mentally, overall, logically, and, or I should say linearly and non-linearly. And it's still Saturn. I don't really talk much about Saturn, but it's not really in huge aspects, although I will say it's in that quincunx with Mars that's separating. But another unique thing is that Jupiter and Saturn are in their sextile. They're waxing sextile. This is the first major aspect between Jupiter and Saturn since their conjunction on December 21st of 2020 at 0 Aquarius, literally right where Pluto's at. So another very interesting quality to this right now is remembering what quality is. Feeling confident in, again, your beliefs, your expanse, but also having a sense of maturity, which actually is interesting with Saturn because I believe Saturn does rule, in essence, maturity. And maturity, to me, is more of a feminine energy, and certainty is more of a masculine energy. Certainty is an interesting thing right now. We need to be certain in that we can have quality, that we can believe and manifest great things. It's good to have that certainty and to feel and believe that. But in terms of just everyday living and life and expectations, it's important to use maturity right now, which doesn't know, but it feels. Doesn't know, but it feels, and it will listen, it will learn, it will grow. So, very interesting aspect that's building up with Jupiter and Saturn that is a piece of the pie for this full moon. But, yeah, full moon in Sag. I don't know what else really to say. I hope that, that's helpful information for you all on it. I hope everybody enjoys it. Look, Sag is fun. Sag is a fun sign. So if there's anything amped up too, I hope that this is a time that is amping up fun. Mars is even in, of course, Leo. It's Gemini season. Could be a dang good time, but it's also crazy. There's like a crazy vibe to it at the same time. So we want to be careful about what could be going on in the world. People can go too far. We still do have Jupiter and Mars in their square, and I know this chart's a mess at this point, but don't want to go too far. We don't want to go too far out there. Part of this is both the going out there, but staying grounded. Staying in a place of picking up information, but not being so far from the physical realm and what's actually happening in our life that, it's almost like we can get lost in space. So I would imagine there's probably going to be some bomb parties in the world with this full moon. Some places are going to be going off this Saturday. And there'll probably be some pretty chaotic, wild events that happen in the world too. This is pretty interesting energy. Has fun to it though, I won't lie. There is a fun to it. But I think it's like adapting to, and like not knowing that, okay, if I go do this, I'm going to have the best time, because you might not. You might be very disappointed. But if you go out and, well, even if you stay home, it doesn't matter. But if you go into the evening, into this full moon, like, I'm just ready to see where this journey is going to take me, and I'm ready to, see what pops up, and maybe I'll be impulsive on something if it feels right, and if the information's there, and if it's stimulating, Probably could have one of the best full moons of your life. So we'll throw those little tidbits of my perspective into it as well. As we come to Sunday, we are going to see that moon still very feeling full. This is basically a full moon weekend in Sagittarius. But nonetheless, it's like the quest. Like, let's quest. I think that's what a lot of this weekend is about, is trying to learn more, experience more. But it does have to kind of be willing to take in new information too. It just doesn't want to, we can't just sit there in total knowing because of the full moon. But I do think, Sunday does have, a little bit more potential. Because the moon's going to square, right? It's going to make a nice little square over to, and honestly, before the full moon, which I didn't think about because I was just kind of in a zone with the other parts of this. But, during the day, it's moon square Saturn, right? So that brings a little crustiness to the day, and then it's a full moon. So it's a very interesting full moon. We have to be very, I guess, careful in a sense that we're not going too far. Like, I feel like that's where like lessons will be learned. And look, this is a lesson learning energy, I would say. They could be harsher lessons. They could be beautiful lessons. They could be spiritual lessons. They could be a lot of things. So we're all learning for this one. We're taking this is a PhD course in spiritual evolution. So congratulations. Hope everybody does well. There'll be a pop quiz on Monday, so study up. But the moon in Sag again on Sunday, like there's a little bit of confusion, sensitivity going on with Neptune. And again, where's the destination right now? Very interesting question. I think it's great to have goals. It's great to have ideas and to plan, but they may or may not happen. Like things can be a mirage. And I think that's the beauty of being in Gemini season, is to just be like still like here mentally and looking at things and taking in actual fact, having conversation. Sometimes when you get like Sagittarius and Pisces, and especially a moon Neptune, our intuition can really think it knows everything, or what other people are doing, or even what we're doing. We almost have to be a little careful with our intuition right now, because it could be a complete smoke show. It could be a complete facade, mirage, major rose-colored glasses in some senses. And it just helps to be aware of that because, well, when the moon comes into Capricorn, the delusion will wear off, you know? And it'll come into Capricorn with Venus in exact opposition to Pluto. So enjoy your weekend by all means. Fantasize. Just don't go too far. That's the trick this weekend. You did not to go too far. And to try to feel good, even though it's like sensitive things can come up. Venus is opposing Pluto. People can walk away from people. People can stop, conversating in the same manner. They can stop doing things the same way. Or they can expect more. They can want more nurturing from people. They could, it can get very obsessive about how people are being cared for, or different levels of the, some kind of a foundation that we expect from whether it's people or ourselves or the physical world. It's in a testy place. It's trying to evolve. It's trying to upgrade, for sure. But there's like an extreme attachment or extreme, separation. But there's also the magnetic effect right now where things are getting pulled in to one another. But then for other people, they're going to get pushed away just as fast. So it's just the idea that we know how situations are going to turn out right now is absolutely silly. The idea that we know what somebody else is doing, thinking, dreaming, feeling is absolutely silly. So have conversations with people if you are curious about them. Whether they tell you the truth or not, that's up to them, but at least you're trying to have some form of communicative action to understand and come to your own conclusions. Probably the best advice I can give people this weekend, if they're dealing with people or in relationships, is just that. We just can't have expectations or think we know right now until we get the factual information or the dialogue. And and this might not even just be for people, but I mean, in our lives, like, if you think you know, you might find out you don't know. perfectly okay as long as you can accept that when you realize you don't know, right? Perfectly okay. But then to look back and be like, oh, right, gotcha. I just a good lesson in that. I guess that's like my main download really for this. But that is where our mind is accelerating forward. But again, the mind this weekend is absolutely on one with Uranus. I really think it's going to be hard for people to sleep. I think there's just too much activity. The brain is just firing off. And that's not a bad thing. I think the mind's really evolving and it's accelerating towards a higher stage of value. I mean, gosh, it's been a long time since we've seen Mercury and Uranus meet in Taurus in third decan. 84 years. It's been 84 years. Rose from the Titanic. So this is, in essence, gosh, kind of reminds me, like, that was kind of a moment in time where they realized some things. There was an iceberg. They realized they probably shouldn't travel through that part of the ocean during that time of the year. They learned a lot. And that's something that we're learning too, is we are learning so much right now about, I think, the importance of communication, of value, of trying to understand one another, without so much of a preconceived knowing, right? Like, look, we're always going to have our hunches. They're beautiful and sometimes they're spot on. I'm not saying not to trust your intuition. I'm just saying, like, look, it's not always going to be right because we're not like actually in someone's head or their shoes or in their body. We're not feeling what they're feeling. We're not seeing life through their eyes. I feel like that's just all you need to know. So we'll never fully know. Have conversations. Beautiful energy, I think, when it comes to being vulnerable, wanting to express, wanting to talk, wanting to see where the futures are going. My values are trying to go to this place. So are mine. Mine aren't. Cool, where are yours going? Just a dialogue back and forth. Because again, I don't think people want to be controlled at all right now. And that's going to be something that makes, even with Venus, the dispositor of all this Taurus energy, with the North Node, Jupiter, Mercury, Uranus, like still semi-square the Sun, opposite Pluto. Look, nobody's going to feel safe if they're being told by some, almost like, look, Pluto in Aquarius, like some godlike figure, knowing it all and telling them this is what the future is going to look like. It reminds me of when, COVID hit. I remember I was on Twitter and I saw some guy put a huge thread out saying he was from the future, and by the year 2025, 99.9% of the world was going to wear a mask every day. And it's just the way it is, and it was the norm. And it's like, oh my God. Like that's this kind of energy. Like somebody coming through like they're from the future, they have all the answers. We definitely don't want to take any part in any of that energy. It's more about the present, the information, the learning, because we're going to create the future now in all of our lives. But we can't do it through control. That system's dying. So, anyways, that's the weekend in a nutshell. That's the weekend in a nutshell for me in this full moon energy. I don't know what else to say. I kind of feel like I just got all preachy on you with this full moon in Sag too. So, look, the energy's out there. But you know what? I can laugh and I can say that, guess what? I don't know it all. I don't. And these are just my opinions and the way I read astrology and the way I look at it. And I could be right, I could be wrong, I could be a lot of things. I just want you to be happy. I just want you to live a good life, okay? And feel good. Okay? Okay? That's all. And if you do, you do. If you don't, you don't. Block me. Dislike the video. Love it. Like it. Comment. Appreciate you all just for taking the time to watch. Four of Pentacles in reverse. It's definitely a release. I feel like the Four of Pentacles doesn't want to release, and we have to release. It's almost like holding on to the precious, like the Lord of the Rings a little bit. I get that vibe. So we just have to accept things for what they are right now. If things are trying to go away, if there's repulsion, we got to let repulsion take place. If there's, some kind of a big, connection, well, I think we got to be open to that, what value that can bring into. We don't want to stay very stagnant right now. So any way that we're able to be open to life, whether it's physically or mentally, I think you're gonna have a better full moon and a better weekend. Three of Pentacles in reverse. Well, it seems like values and the way we think about it and the way we feel about it and how we want to construct these different ways. Maybe the people in our life that we're building with. Maybe it's not so much either about like what everybody else is trying to build or what their beliefs are, but really getting tighter and closer to our own beliefs about how we want to manifest quality and substance and just feel good energy in our lives. Just feeling good because we're here and we have a body and a mind and a soul. We need to figure it out. If somebody does something or says something that doesn't bring quality to your life, don't listen to them, don't watch them, don't pay attention, don't take it, say, oh, hope that works for you. That's not quality to me. It's okay. So we don't have to, quality doesn't have to be something that's so static, right? That's a big thing right now too with this Mercury Uranus. Quality is not static. Value is not one size fits all. $100 to one person is chump change. $100 to another person is like, oh my God, I just got $100. So on and so forth, right? That's just a dumb example with a monetary system, but you can correlate that and extrapolate it to other parts of your life. And the Queen of Cups. There can be a lot of emotional maturity that comes through this. We are going to learn more. We are going to know more. And I think we're all going to start to feel this sense of power within ourselves when we stop, again, trying to project onto others about how to live. Which sometimes when I give these horoscopes, I feel like that, but I'm not. I do what you please. I'm just trying to get my information. That's why it's kind of weird on like this kind of a full moon and then sitting here like kind of being preachy. It's like, take it or leave it. If somebody, I'm not going to get mad if somebody says I'm an idiot. I'll move on. But that is emotional maturity. That is just that even line that I said. Like there's a substance within us that's empowering us to feel good because it's more focused on its own growth and evolution, and it realizes it always has to be able to take in more. And the moment you think that you know it all, you block yourself off. You cut off your receptors to learning more, to receiving more. And that's how we're going to receive more, is to, always be open to adaptation, change, knowledge, wisdom. That's the essence of this weekend that's so important. And I think that honestly, it's going to be very stimulating this weekend. I don't think like people are going to be very tired this weekend. I think that emotions are going to be high. Just our mentality, there's a high stimulation in the air. So that's extremely creative. I think there's a lot of passion in the air. Look, there's a lot of things that can bring us a lot of, fun and happiness and feel good energy in our lives right now too. It's just like the moment we get in any kind of limiting belief where it's like, oh, I couldn't do that. That's another thing we got to get rid of. Limiting beliefs. We got to stop limiting ourselves. We need to be willing to always expand and grow. That will manifest value. It's still Jupiter North Node Taurus. Uranus, Mercury, Taurus. Both the dispositors of this full moon are in Taurus and in crucial conjunctions. This is, I feel like the lunar eclipse that we had last month, big deal. high energy. But this one is like such a good kickstart into that eclipse energy that we are in, this new eclipse cycle, because it's opening us up, and we're going to learn more and build more and create more because we're open. This is opening us up. So it's positive. It's positive. I think a lot of you are going to have a really good weekend. So I hope that's true. And I will say that the people that don't have a good time this weekend are people that either go too far, and that becomes an issue, whether it's anyway, and then people that try to force other people to do and believe and think and everything the way that they do. Like there's going to be resistance. Those are the major red flags to watch out for this weekend. Otherwise, a lot of this is just trying to free ourselves from limiting beliefs, limiting tools, limited resources, and limited potential, because there's unlimited potential. That's what we all need to believe, in my opinion. I love you all. I hope you have a great weekend. Later today, I'm going to do sun sign horoscopes for all 12 signs. So check that out. Probably 5 p.m. Pacific, maybe earlier, maybe 4. Spend my Saturday with you. Join me. I'm amped up. I already feel this energy. It's fucking crazy. I love you all. Peace.